Hello everyone, it is Elder Cracker, and today I'm going to show you one of my favorite builds for the Cleric. This is the Drunk Monk, the unholy moly monk bald cannoli. Now this guy is an agile monk, which usually contradicts a slow clunky Cleric, and you're about to see it in action today. So, firstly, the perks you're going to want to run is Undead Slaying for that damage boost against the undead, of course. You can't forget that. Blunt Weapon Mastery, that 5% weapon increase is huge. Perseverance to reduce how much damage you take, which adds to survivability. And Brewmaster, the whole point of this build, getting beer, getting drunk, and dealing extra damage. This is important for the build, and I highly suggest you have it on. You don't need it, but I highly suggest you do. We're of course running Spell Memory and Smite. Smite is a great low cooldown ability that gives you plus 10 magic damage, and you're ready to go in, ready to kill, extra damage, all that good shit. Now for the spells I'm running, Lesser Heal, Cleanse, Holy Light, Protection, and Divine Strike. You can switch it with Bless, with Cleanse, it doesn't matter, but you definitely want Divine Strike in this case. That extra DPS is going to be amazing, especially in team fights. And you get 5 of them, so that's always a great thing. Ideally, when you're running the monk build, you're going to want to have lightweight armor that doesn't slow you down, and of course you're going to be using a quarterstaff. As you can see, the quarterstaff is a two-handed weapon with the ability to block, unlike the maul, and it gives you much more agility than if you're using a mace with a shield or a maul, only reducing your movement speed by 10. This is huge. Unlike most cleric builds, which make you a heavy armored clunky cleric, this actually gives you much more agility, and combined with perks like from those of the wizard, like with haste, you can be basically untouchable with how easily you can weave through the skeletons and avoid damage. And of course this takes practice. The great thing about the quarterstaff is that it gets the bonus from the blunt weapon mastery, and that really adds damage to any of the weapons the cleric uses, and this is great. Now, when you're playing the drunk monk, you're going to want to be more offensive than you usually are with cleric. As you know in my previous guide video about the cleric, you're meant to really be defensive. However, with this, you are much more agile because you're wearing lighter armor. You can get up into combat, you can get up into skeletons' faces, you can initiate fights with not just the NPCs, but actual people as well, because how fast you strike and how hard it is for people to hit you. Plus, you have a block. So the quarterstaff is more defensive than the maul when you're comparing the two-handed weapons. You're still going to provide the same utility as you do normally, and again, one of the greatest strengths about this with the cleric is the fact that you can use Divine Strike, you have Smite, any supports from any classes, plus the alcohol that you're drinking, like your abusive dad, and you can deal out some crazy damage. As you can see, I am taking out most of these mobs in 3 to 4 hits. And I can even take on people too. Now, when it comes to people, like I said, you are going to be more offensive. You have to get in their face. What's great about this build is you don't have to rely on Barbarian or Fighter initiating fights as much. As you can tell, I'm perfectly capable of taking out opponents quickly, and I actually pose a threat to many of them as well. When it comes to the gear specifically, I recommend just wearing any light armor you can have, and if you're going to wear boots and gloves, I highly suggest you wear ones that Lightfoot boots that increase movement speed and gloves that increase agility. Again, you're not supposed to be heavily armored, so keep in mind that is a disadvantage to this class, is that it is not as tanky as other builds, such as the traditional cleric build, which relies on heavy armor. Fortunately, you have plenty of skills such as lesser heals that can help you survive. Of course, there are still some downsides to this build. The blocking is not the best when it comes to... Well, blocking in general is a little difficult if you don't have it down to a T, but blocking with a quarterstaff is definitely difficult compared to using a shield. One thing to keep in note is that you still want to activate buffs before you fight. Don't forget, you cannot not drink your beer. You need to drink your beer. You need to activate your buffs. Another great thing about the quarterstaff is the ability to just go through enemies. It does not stop on impact. It can actually mow down multiple enemies, as you saw. I can clip right through an army of dead skulls like it was no big deal. You can do the same thing against opponents as well. This is a really fun class to play with other damage dealers with like Barbarian that have debuffs, as well as the Wizard who can provide you with haste that increases your movement speed and it makes you even faster, which is an insane combination. As you can see in these videos, I'm capable of holding my own against fighters, rogues, rangers, and barbarians. And overall, this is a really fun class, and I really recommend it to anyone who hasn't tried out these builds before. It's very unorthodox compared to a lot of the other cleric builds out there. Again, you feel very nimble, you feel loose, and yeah, overall it's a pretty damn good build. Keep in mind, most of the gear I'm wearing in this content is low level gear, and that is on purpose. For this is to show beginners new different ideas and new routes they can take with their characters. So obviously I'm not going to be wearing purple gear, epic gear, or anything like that. This is just to show that even at low levels or at beginners, you can use this type of awesome gear. What's up, man?
Nice. Fuck him.
One's coming, fuck.
You could use your Q. Nice.
Oh, nice.
Let's go.
Fucking.
And that is basically the drunk monk, as I call it. I really enjoyed this. It's probably my favorite variation of a cleric, traditional cleric build, and I highly suggest you guys give it a shot just to see. You feel fast, and that's like one of my main complaints about the cleric, and it completely contradicts it. As always, I want you guys to have the biggest dong ever and always prosper. And Elder Cracker will see you on the next one.